Top and make sure we're live. Yes, we're live. Okay. Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we're going to discuss the Ferencvaros game and do a preview of the Brighton game on Sunday. So without further ado, first I welcome all those in the chat. We've got 4 of you at present. I'm sure more will come. It's Friday night, so we understand that. Right, so I'll introduce you to our guest. So, Alan, how are you, mate?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. I think we're all got the good vibes because we're 5 games on the winning streak that we've got going. Yep. Soren, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
And Mod Mark, how are you?
All is good, Adrian. All is good.
Okay, well, we'll go straight in, and I'll start with this, right, against Ferencvaros. Soren, it was a sloppy start before we sort of got a grip of things.
Yeah, before we go any further, just a quick one. Happy birthday, for yesterday, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes, happy belated birthday.
Earlier,
yes.
I hear it was a messy one or a good one, whichever way you want to say it.
Yeah, but this is where I'm sort of going to dodge the questions about football because I can't remember it.
Yeah. Yesterday. Yeah, I think. Look, let's not beat about the bush. We played 4 youngsters in what is our second-rate team against a team that I think I heard haven't been beaten at home by an English team for 55 years. So, look, we played a weakened team. We came out well with the result anyway. It was a sloppy first half, definitely. It could have gone. We could have scored more. They could have easily scored. But yeah, I think there's plenty of talking points within that.
Yeah, there are plenty of talking points. Alan, I'll put this up, right? Because Vicario did they scored a goal, which was, for us, it was great. For them, it was harshly disallowed. They did actually put the lines up, it was the finest of margins, wasn't it? Because I thought they'd given it for the other guy, done it the old-fashioned way, and thought the player in the centre of the goal was the one they'd given an offside. Because I thought, are they thinking the ball was going to him, so they get it offside, whereas it's past him, But just to move on to my thought, right? 22 minutes, Dynamic Sar scores 0-1. Goal made by players aged 18, 19, 20, and 22.
Yeah, Pat Matasar had a good game. For him, it's 2-2, I think, right? And he's starting to. I think he pairs well with Basuma. I think the two of them pair very well together. I think Basuma. I was talking to Dave from the Irish Hotspur. He said that he felt that Basuma was kind of sloppy in how he plays, that he tries to take too many risks. But I think that in pairing with Sarr is there to help catch anyone that might steal the ball away from him or whatever. Because Basuma does some really cool tricks, and he's able to pass around. I watched he kick the ball one way, ran around the guy, and picked the ball back up. He has some really good moves, and I think Sarr complements him on that. Sarr's also not afraid to take shots. Even when we were kind of in a period where it seemed like all we did was pass the ball back and forth in the box, Sarr is someone that will take shots even from outside the box. I think he's going to have a lot of competition now that I believe Ange may have his starting three in maybe Kulu and Madison and Bentancur. But I think Sarr can rise to the occasion and play more than just these cup games or Europa squad teams.
Good point that Alan makes there, Mark, on the Sarr Basuma thing, because in pre-season, before Decky sort of really cemented his place in as a number 8 hybrid 10, Ange did go with Basuma, Sarr and Madison in starting a couple of those pre-season friendlies, and they were the successful 3 that started in 10 games last season when we were undefeated.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. So obviously Sarr scored. And from what I can remember, it was all right. I mean, you can't expect a team that's never played together to click immediately.
Yeah.
Because, and it surprised me that there was like the 4 youngsters in there from the beginning. But they did all right. We won, so you got to be happy. Oh, he's very nearly finished, I think. Big up, Peter. I believe he's nearly finished, Peter.
All right, work. Right,
He finishes at 6.
All right, I'll just go through the chat. Welcome to the Spurs D'Analyst.
D'Analyst. Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel as well.
Welcome to Peter Kagius, because he's a very generous in the Spurs community, giving out memberships, as are Alan in here. Don't want to embarrass him.
Paramedic he is as well. Paramedic in Australia, so big up to him.
See, this is the confidence growing through the fan base now. One more window, lads. Yeah, and we got fellow mod Chris Peters. He's got to come on sometimes. Chris tends to like to stay in the background, though, So I've met him at a few games. Lovely fella. I'm embarrassing him now. And a nice wife he's got. At 6 a.m. for Peter.
Yeah, that's when he finishes.
Welcome in, John Fitzpatrick's. Welcome in.
Big up, sir.
Then evening, Chris, says the Spurs Downers, and Chris Peters. 2-3 to Spurs on Sunday. We will come to Brighton later. I just want to go back to the banners now.
I'll tell you what I will do. I'll put Dan's channel in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. You can put anyone's channel in the chat. Promote anyone. Promote LTEL and everyone you want. We've got another comment. Yeah. Chris says hello. Right. Back to the banners. Soren, let's save that. Vicario didn't know it was offside. It reminded me of Pele and Banks, but you guys won't remember that line. What a save that was. The agility the goalkeeper's got. He might have faults,
Yeah. Again, with Vicario, it's one of those that we look back at the first couple of games and he was a little bit shaky. People were starting to question him again. And it was the exact same last season when he came to us. First couple of games, just a little bit shaky, and then suddenly started to go. But look, I don't care what anybody says. There isn't many better shot stoppers anywhere than Vicario. He has his faults elsewhere, don't get me wrong. I think he needs to sort of get a little bit stronger sometimes, but we've seen a few little changes in his game. He's starting to come for balls and he's starting to do things, but his shot stopping is second to none. I mean, like you say, that save was it was just unbelievable.
We're talking about the point blank save where he was like right in front of him.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I said it a couple of times, and look, we go back to when he first come to us, when we first signed him. I think I was the same as many, that I kind of thought we was going to get Raya and didn't know much about him. Couldn't really stand up for him because I didn't know who he was. And you sort of saw some things from him, and I wouldn't swap him for any goalkeeper now. I know he's got his faults, and you hope he'll get over them, but I just think is massive for us. He's a little bit like Lloris was when he was on form. He has saved us so many points, and you know we've looked dodgy sometimes, but he has saved us so many times. So he, for me, is my goalie going forward. I wouldn't swap him for anybody right now.
Alan, even in the second half, apart from that brilliant save, when their striker curled the ball around our defenders and he's dived and fingertipped it, that was going in as tight the inside of the post as you could imagine.
Oh yeah, when it comes to shot stopping, he's unbelievable. He does remind me a lot of Lloris in that way. Lloris was a really good shot stopper, kind of scary whenever he had to kick or throw or the ball or punch the ball away, but he was a great shot stopper. And so is Vicario. But I think the only mistake Vicario made yesterday was when he went to go punch the ball and he kind of punched it back right to them, right in front of him. So there are things that have to get worked out, but we know what they are, and there are things he can work on in practice. Whereas, like with Werner has an issue in the front, in the final third, and I don't know if that's a training issue or a mental issue or what, but I think with Vicario, he has things that can be relatively easily attained to get past these issues, and then he'll just be like number one. He's still, for a goalie, he's still relatively young. And his saves have kept us in games. I mean, regardless of the mistakes he may make, it's not always down to him. Very rarely, I think, is it ever his. Do we lose because of Vicario? Usually, it's the goals that he can't save are usually unstoppable. And he made some great saves yesterday. He really did.
Yeah. Mark, what you remember of the game, doing your birthday celebrations?
I can remember Vic saves, and he's 100%. He's like a hell of a shot stopper, and he has started to come out and sort of catch the ball. Against Man United, and I'm sure it was a Man United game. Did a cross come over and he come out and a couple of times, unless I'm dreamt it was that.
You're right. Yeah.
He came out last night and caught the ball a couple of times, or at least once. Then, but his shot stopping is fantastic.
A bit more aggressive, isn't he? I think he's looking a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
And also release the ball a bit quicker. Yeah,
but I'll be honest with you. Like a lot of them goals where he's been sort of bullied at corners and all that sort of stuff. A lot of that I blame the defence, because someone should be there sort of protecting him, sort of like, because you see it, if one of their players for another team is like crowding like their goalie, one of their defenders will come and stand in the way of him and sort of like, enough. But see, a lot of his like frailties that like was sort of shown up, I sort of blame the defence for that, for not protecting him enough. But like shot stopping and that, he's fantastic. He's one of the most athletic keepers that I've seen. He is like a prime Lloris. But the trouble is with Lloris, we kept him a couple of years too long. When he was on the decline, he should have gone.
Even at Johnny Bethnal Green.
Yeah, big up, sir. Can I just say, Johnny, I like both your videos that you put up earlier. I'll put his channel in the chat as well if you want.
Well, I don't think
legend. Legend. He'll know what I mean. He'll know what I
we'll
mean.
get him back on when he's available. Right. Well, a podcast wouldn't be complete with having this guy on.
Oh
Sorry,
my goodness.
give you the poison chalice here, Soren.
Look, I thought over the last couple of games he's done some decent stuff, but Jesus Christ, he cannot hit a barn door at the moment. And to be honest with you, I just think I know it's not just, but his confidence at shooting is absolutely shattered. He just doesn't seem to be able to hit that barn door. I mean, you wouldn't want to bet your house on it, would you? But look, and I don't know if it's good enough, but he's always in the right place at the right time. So that part of his game is there. It's just you watched it against Man United, and he went to shoot when he should have gone round the goalie, and then against the team last night, he's gone round the goalie when he should have shot. It's decision making in the final part. Now he starts slotting one or two of those away, and I think we will see a different Werner. But every time he misses, you just think you're not surprised, and you kind of see the ball go to him, and he's bearing down on goal, and you just think, I don't think there's any Spurs fans at the moment that think this is him. If that had been Bale, you're thinking that's going to hit the back of the net. I don't care what. But with Werner at the moment, you just think, yeah, he ain't scoring. And I just feel so sorry for him because he can do it. He has done it, but he's just not doing it. And I just don't know what the answer is with him at the moment.
He was put in perfectly by Mikey Moore with that ball, right? And the thing that gets me, that really frustrates me, it's not that he's a bad footballer. I know Spurs fans go, oh, and throw pelts at me. He's not a bad footballer. He's just not good enough for us because you're a forward and you're not scoring goals. And if you don't score goals, I've said it in so many podcasts, in our front three, I don't want you in the tie. So as an impact sub, 10, 20 minutes, the game to go, okay, you can utilise me. He's going to be utilised till we further strengthen in the attacking department. But we've seen this before, though, Soren, haven't we, Alan? Like where he drags the ball wide when he could chip the keeper or have a shot.
Yep.
Right? And he actually makes it harder to score dragging a ball wide because then I think he gets nervous and his touch is a bit heavy. If it was a dink touch, if Mikey Moore was there or Kane or whatever, there'd have been a half a yard touch and a bang with the other foot even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his even things that we kind of have to depend on him to do, like passing and dribbling, he really didn't do a very good job of it last night. He lost the ball a lot. He seemed to have a heavy touch. Now, I know it was really coming down at the game. The water, I think the ground was soaked. And I know that a lot of the way the ball bounces when the ball is soaked can be kind of different than usual. But my gosh, he's kind of like, it's like playing with 10 men most of the time. It really is. What I would say is even with our B team, we beat a good team. And I think we're getting to the point now where we really need to think about a more permanent left winger, even beyond Son. I think the way we've been playing without Heung-min Son is, I think we can live without him. I think we could cash in on him next year and hopefully and take that and invest it into someone else that can bring it back to what Son was in his prime. But Werner, my gosh, and I feel kind of bad for him because Ange keeps putting him in, and it's not like he hasn't been consistent in being pretty poor. So, why is Ange? It kind of feels like when you have the yips and yet the coach keeps putting you in, and it feels at some point does the question, you just like watching me fail, and it at some point maybe give him a rest, give him a chance to get his head on straight. I would rather see more in for Werner and have Johnson over on the right than Werner on the left and Johnson on the right.
Mark, do you think we'd seen this much of Werner this season, what we have seen of him, if Odegaard had been fit and we hadn't sent Manor Solomon out on loan, because Manor Solomon hadn't played for a year? We really sent him out for fitness and to see if he's going to, smash it in the championship, which he will do because he's too good for the championship, and then bring him back. Do you think that he wouldn't have played as many games? He wouldn't even got in the side?
No, I said it. I was on the Fanning show, Tottenham Away, about an hour ago, and I said that Werner playing gives me hope that at 54, I might still get a game. Because let's face it, he's not good enough. Yes, he can run, and yes, can he stretch teams? Yes, but that's about all he can do. He can't finish. He's not very good at passing.
In defence of him, he did put one good cross on early in the game, which come off a Lancashire, and Lancashire should have actually. He's a striker that's defenders. Lancashire should have actually done a bit better with that. So he can cross the ball.
Werner's been on the decline since that first season at is it Leipzig, wherever he was. Well, there we go.
He had a couple of good seasons there, and he was blistering.
He had some banging numbers in Germany, but when he got that big move, it's like Alex Scott has just put in 170 grand a week. I mean, you expect more for that.
Yep.
And to be honest, I think Werner is sort of slowing down Moore's development. That's my person. Why he's here is beyond me. But while he's here, there is hope that I'll turn up at a game and pull the shirt on.
Well, he's not going anywhere unless they've got a clause that says we can release him in January.
Well, just do it. Just get rid.
Well, the reason I mention that is because we've struggled having enough academy players so as we can have a full squad for Europe. And Werner is taking up a European spot. Let's not forget that. We could bring another player in if we released him. If Odegaard's back and fit and Yang Min Hook comes in, and listen, I think, Mike, you're going to see quite a bit. We'll come on to Mikey more later because he's just a phenomenon, right? And I've got stats on him and everything. And look, we're just going to have to suck it up with Werner this season. Whether he lasts till January, let's go. He's not going to be kept, is he? You look at the young players coming through. He's not one for our future. Even if he had a barnstorming season, I still think we'll let him go. I think he'll contribute. He'll have good games, and he might get the odd goal, but he only got, 2 goals in 20 games or appearances last season, and maybe 3 assists or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yet his stats overall as a player in the last 4 teams he's played for are very good. 152 goals.
Yeah, but the German club sort of bulks his stats up. If you look after he left wherever he was in Germany and went, his stats are dreadful.
Well, his stats weren't dreadful. His goal scoring was dreadful, definitely. But his crossings and that was quite good. His goal involvements, he just misses so many at that level what you would call easy chances. That's the problem. You look at the 3 chances that he's had against Ferencvaros or whatever they call them and Man United. He should have at least scored 2 out of 3, definitely. And if we're going to gauge him and if we're going to be critical about players, then he's the one that has to look at himself because he's the season pro. He's not a youngster. He's had 10 years at top level. He's a German international, or he was, and he just. I don't think when I played football I missed as many chances as he has.
No. It's like you said earlier, Soren. It's like you said just a minute ago. Right now, when he got put through yesterday, if that was Son, Kane, Bell, anybody, you'd have thought, well, that's it. It's a goal.
Yeah.
But when he went through, you just knew that he'd either trip over, sky it over the bar, or do what he do, take it wide onto his weaker foot, and then sky it in the stands anyway. You know,
It's funny, isn't it? Any other player going through, you're excited. When Werner gets through, you just think, you're just waiting. You're sort of hoping he might do something.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. Whenever he plays for us, it's like we got 10 men.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we've had one sent off.
That's cruel. Right?
Problem was when you watched him against Man U and you watched him last night and he was going through, it wasn't waiting for the goal to get. It was like, please score, please score. You know, it was like you were begging him to score rather than expecting him to score. And I think that's the problem. But to me, again, he's one of these players that the problem is he's got too much time to think about it. And until he gets his confidence back, it's literally got to be, you've got one hit and that's it. You hit it. You don't think about what you're going to do. And this is what we saw with Richie last year when his confidence was shot. If he had to think about what he was going to do, he couldn't hit the bloody barn door. But if he just hit it on instinct, then he scored. And I think that's what Werner needs. He needs a couple of those chances where it's literally, you've got seconds to hit it, full stop. Don't think about it, just hit it. And we might see a different outcome. You put him running through like that, and yeah, I mean, you might as well go for a beer because you ain't gonna miss nothing.
Do you honestly think he's still living at the club?
No. I don't. I mean, I do for the fact he's earning £160,000 a week. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We don't want to start on wages in football because it's ridiculous, but he's not a bad player. He just can't finish. That's the problem. His confidence is absolutely shot. Now,
but in all fairness, that's what he's at the club for, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what he's at the club for, isn't it? Yeah. He's there to be a finish. You know,
I mean, to me, if he was on 50, 60,000, 70, 80,000, as daft as it sounds, I would say no, definitely not. 170,000, yes. I kind of get the argument that he's stealing a living, but it's not his fault that that's what we're paying.
No.
This is the argument all of the way through. If that's what we were prepared to pay, it's not his fault.
No. We got to blame the club then.
Think when we talk, it's so hard to argue with people saying, look, forget about what they earn, because you can't forget about what they earn. That's the problem. But look, I mean, some of his play has been good. It hasn't been fantastic, you know, and it's not been good enough. His all-round play has not been good enough. But as a backup to maybe a backup, I think he's okay if we forget the wages he's on. But yeah, I mean, look, if you said to me, here's a player that's more consistent, but maybe not quite as fast or not as good, full stop, would you take him? Then yeah, you would. You know, I mean, there's no argument about that. But I could understand the reasoning behind getting him, and I could understand the reason behind keeping him again. There is no defending if we sign him.
Oh my God!
I think the fan base and everything would go into total meltdown.
Yeah,
it's bad enough now, but as a stopgap, then yeah, you know, I mean, to me, he's been kept with, assuming the vision was to get these youngsters in and to give them time to come on. That's the only reason I can see now behind us keeping Werner for this season. So
I just don't want these kids learning from him. I don't want them to teach them nothing.
I think he can. I think he can teach them something.
What, how to miss?
Yeah, no, I think as a seasoned pro, he will teach, and he'll teach them certain things, you know, like understanding the game and things like that. Now,
as long as he doesn't show them, as long as he only speaks to them and doesn't actually demonstrate this.
We've got to look at a lot of the things, you know, where we talk about coaches. A lot of the coaches have never played football, but he's got that football inside. Now, yes, his finishing hasn't been good, but if we'd have gone back to when he was playing for Leipzig in his first time and said, would we want this player? We'd have all wanted him because he was good back then. It's one of those where you look at a player and you say, how can you be good and then suddenly terrible? There's something missing somewhere. And for me, for him, it's just a big confidence thing. But look,
To me, I'd ship him off back to Leipzig immediately.
I don't think we've got a choice, though. I think the problem is now you've got Odegaard out, you've got Son out. Other than Mikey Moore, who have we got to play a left wing?
Well, this is where we're deficient, isn't it?
Exactly. So, it's one of those where how do you send him back when we've got nobody else? And
Richarlison can play on the left when he's
but he's injured as well. So he can't,
got Yang coming in January.
Yeah, but again, that's January.
He's like 12.
Mark my words, Mikey Moore will be established by that. This
Yeah. Well, Adrian, you go to every game. If you go to every game, maybe you'll get a game on the left.
Yeah, I'd have to buy a new pair of boots. Right. Jay Ashraf makes a good point. He says, hi, Adrian and panel. Why is Ange not giving Gray a chance in midfield? He is not a defender. Feels like just shoehorn him because of his price tag. Well, I'm going to put a banner up on this, right? And then you can discuss it, because I think when you bring in certain players into a club, Sissoko and all that, or even Dyer when he played in midfield and was doing well and getting man of the match performances, you do have unsung heroes in a side, and some of the work they do is not that appreciated, in my opinion, and they can be very effective. I've known go back to about David Howes, and people said to me once, he didn't have a very good game sitting in front of our back four. I said he made 4 very vital interceptions, and they could have all turned into goals. And what I'm trying to mean is when people underestimate Gray, who I think is a fantastic talent, I'm going to put this up. Alan, you want to take this?
Sure. I think Gray, for better or for worse, is a versatile player. He can play he likes playing in the middle, but he can play in the defense. And I think that's partly why we poached him at such a young age, so that he can learn the system, and that he could be versatile in a place where we would need him currently. Because, in the midfield, I think we're good in the midfield. We've already got an established 3. We have backups for them. Archie Gray kind of just doesn't fit right now in that cycle of rotation for the midfield, I don't think. But he does for being a center back or a left back. I was a little surprised he was a center back, but because he'd been used on the right. Wasn't he on the right, or was he on the left? I thought he was playing on the right for some reason at one point.
He was.
Well, and a lot of Romero was more on the right, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I just thought, in fairness to Gray, at centre back, he looked better at left back when he switched, but at centre back, when we were a little sloppy when we first started, I think you have to give the kid a bit of a latitude here, because he's been asked to play at centre back and in wet conditions as well, right?
Yeah.
And so that I am forgiving in that respect, and Ange said, Ange did get me later when he said, oh, we moved him because it felt better like that. Then I thought, well, why didn't you start him as left back then? You know what I mean? Like, if you thought Davis would be better in the middle. But go on,
yeah,
Ange, sorry.
That's what I was going to say. I think because he's swapped with Ben Davies, and I think it worked better the other week where Gray was on the left and Ben Davies was on the left-sided center back. Because I just didn't, you can move these people too many times where, we can kind of figure out where they don't. Luckily for him, he's good enough that he was pretty flexible. I don't think he did much wrong yesterday. He was taking on his man. He was tracking back well. He passes well. He seems to interplay well. Mikey Moore was kind of helping out, and he was doing well with him there when he was on the right crossover. what was the question? Why isn't he
Playing midfield.
Basically, why isn't he been given a chance in midfield yet? Well,
oh yeah.
he will be.
Mostly because I think he's just at the end of the pecking order. And I think part of the agreement must have been that he was going to be flexible in his first season, maybe even second season, just like you were mentioning, Adrian, just like Eric Dyer had to be, because he started in the middle and then wound up in the defense.
Soren?
Yeah, I mean, look, how do I put this without upsetting some people? I think with Archie Gray, and I've said it from day one, that he will become a talent for Tottenham Hotspur. He will have a good career with us, and I've no doubt about that. Will he play midfield? Yeah, eventually he will play midfield. Is he still learning his trade? Yes, he's still learning his trade. And I think part of the reason that we signed him this summer was to make sure he didn't go somewhere else and suddenly become a 60, 70 million pound player in the future. We've argued and argued that as a club, we don't sign these youngsters that are going to be a talent in the future. And then when we do, we argue that we're signing youngsters that are not ready. And I think Mark's mentioned it quite a few times before, and a lot of other people have, the price tag. This is a situation where I think we have to forget the price tag. He's not a 40 million pound player. We know he's not. But he probably will become a 40 million pound player at least. But the problem is that was the going rate for him. And that's what somebody else was prepared to pay. And that's what we had to pay. And in order to get that player through the door, we paid over the odds. And that's not his fault. We can't keep blaming him for his price tag. That was the price tag at the time. Now, if you listen to Ange, I don't know whether it was today or yesterday when he did his press conference, he's happy with his development. He sees where he's going. He knows he's playing him out of position, but you've got a player there that, look, he did he did do some things wrong last night. Let's not pretend he was perfect. He certainly wasn't. But did he do some good things? Yeah, he probably did more good things than bad things. His passing is brilliant. His running with the ball is brilliant. His vision of where to put the ball is brilliant. But he's still a youngster. He's still an 18-year-old kid. Now, there are so many arguments about this lad going around at the moment. And I just think it's, we're prepared to give other players time. Why can't we give him time? The problem is, I get it that we've slapped 40 million pound on this player, and I know me and Mark have had our discussions over it, and in the chats it's always going around that we should have signed somebody to start now, and I get that argument, but I think when you see what we're trying to do as a club, and I know, again, it's something that a lot of fans don't want to hear, but we are building for what's coming. And these kids are going to suddenly all come good together. And we can't compare him to Mikey Moore, because Mikey Moore is one of those kids that, you don't get many of them. You don't see many of them. And look, I mean, Mikey Moore's had one good game. Well, what happens if he comes on in the next game and he's rubbish? Are we going to start slating him? No, we're probably not, because he's one of our own. Archie Gray is a talented footballer that is 18 years old. I mean, I've got kids older than him. And I just think there is a lot of unfair criticism. I get the criticism game to game, but I just think there's too much criticism for these youngsters. we cry out to buy these youngsters. We cry, we scream and shout to say put the youngsters in, and then when we do, if they have a bad game or they get caught out, we suddenly want to slate them off. And I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. He's going to make mistakes, and anybody who says he's not is delusional. Anybody who thinks he's going to have a perfect game every game is delusional. All these youngsters are going to make mistakes at some point, but that's how they learn. That's how they understand the game going forward. That's how they become better players. If they're good enough, they'll learn from the mistakes. And if they don't learn from the mistakes, then they won't get better. They won't materialize into what we hope they will. And I mean, look, there's every chance that could happen with Gray. It could happen with Bergvall. It could happen with Mikey Moore. He might fizzle out. We just don't know. But, I mean, for me, we should be getting behind these players and, I don't know, just trying to believe in them for a change. That's all I think. It's about time we got together as a fan base and actually get behind the players. And yeah, if they have a really shit game, we criticize them. I understand that. And yeah, I'm not one for criticizing players sometimes. And I get criticized for that. But I just want to see us all get behind the team for once. And if we win, we should all be happy. If we lose, we should all be grumpy. And I get that when you lose, you start to break down the game, and it's like, oh, he was rubbish, he was rubbish, he was rubbish. But when we win, to me, it should be, oh, how fantastic it is. We've won. Everything's great. And then the book comes. This could be done better. That could be done better. But I don't know. For me, Gray will be a starter for us for a long, long time. I really do believe that, and I'm not going to change my mind.
Mark, he can ping a ball though. I mean, he hit long balls. He's got good vision, good technique. He hit a long ball out to Werner a couple of times. He's got a decent half turn on him, from what I've seen. I mean, but I've seen this before. I see it because I watched the kid in the Championship. I watched videos of him, but before he even come to this club. So he was a player I've always liked. At a young age, I thought, oh, he's good for his age, And I watch a lot of under-21 games, so that's why I sort of get my interest from.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think he's a star in the making, or?
Yes, I do. Yes. Right now.
But it's the waiting game again, yeah.
The problem is we wasted 40 million chunk of change on him from our transfer. Well, we're not wasted. That's the wrong word. We spent 40 million, which was a sizable part of our budget on someone who wasn't ready for the first team, which is why I had the big hang up before the season started. We needed players for the now. Right now, at the moment, Archie Gray is being shoehorned in various positions. Like, do we even know his position? Because he's just been shoehorned in everywhere. And surely that's not the way to develop a player, is to get him to play right back, centre back, left back. Has he even been in midfield yet? Because when we signed him, I thought he was a midfielder.
Well, with regards to midfield, yeah, go on.
You got to think as well. He's 18-year-old right now. Now, I was on another show earlier, and someone on there said that between 18 and 21 is the most important times of your football development. Right now, and there was a call on that show for him to get a loan. Go to a team that's gonna develop him, because can you honestly see him getting the minutes in the first team at Tottenham? Take the Europa, like I'm on about Premier League minutes, where he's really going to get the experience. Can you see him getting the required minutes? Because let's face it, if he's in midfield, he's what, 7th choice?
Well, we got 7
midfield.
include
because we've got 6 midfielders, so is he going to be behind all them?
Well, we're in
And
unknown
he's
territory.
definitely behind Porro for right back, right? And probably Spence for right back, because that's Spence's
I
position.
disagree there, Mark, because if you look at it, he is playing in front of Spence.
Well,
And I mean, I think the Spence thing is
Spence
another
isn't in the European thing, though, is he?
Yeah,
Well,
Spence
no, I mean, he's come on in front of Spence in, when he has come on in the Premier and in the Cups. That Spence could have played in the Cups, but he didn't, did he?
Yeah. The only worry I got with it is that he's not going to get the minutes in the first team, like Premier League minutes, to develop. And there was a big discussion on Dan's channel about would he be better off sending him out on loan? It's not the sort of thing we do, spend 40 million and then send him out on loan. But to be honest, if it's going to be good for him at the end goal, then yes, because I honestly can't see him. I cannot see him getting the minutes to develop this season.
I'll add to that, Mark, because why I think that he will get the minutes, and because it's for various options. One, we're in multiple competitions.
No, I'm on about Premier League minutes, Adrian. That's where he's really going to develop.
I'm going to come to that, Mark. I'm coming to that, right? We don't know what the situation is going to be with injuries and suspensions coming up. And suspensions more than injuries. I don't want the injuries. But you've got Maddison on 3 yellow cards, Bentancur on 3 yellow cards, Basuma's on 2 yellow cards. You've got to get to game 19 before you get an amnesty. And if you get 5 yellow cards in the second half of the season, you get a 2 game ban instead of 1. So, and Ange's actually said this. He said they will play a big part this season. Now, you may be right, Mark, because we're not prophets. You may be right. It may work out that he gets less time than we think he's going to get. But I see Graham Bergvall, because Ange uses all his substitutions especially, they are going to get plenty of minutes under their belt, even if it's half hours in second halves, because now Ange knows he can trust them. He knows he can bring them earlier. It's not looking at the bench and thinking, like Conte did, we're going to bring on,
I think when
I want to see Gray come on, though. I really want to see Gray come on, though, in the midfield. I don't want him shoehorned in at centre back and right back and, places that, let's face it, is not his position. He played all them games for Leeds at right back, I know, but he's not a right back, is he?
No. But we talk about Bergvall and we talk about Gray, and you just hit the nail on the head, I think, there, Adrian, when you said about trust. I think he's got more trust in Archie Gray being the player that he knows he can put in these positions, and he'll do a job for him. Bergvall, and I think we said this at the sort of beginning of the season, that Bergvall has the talent. There's no doubt in that. Yeah. He is a talented player. And I said it quite early on that I think we'll see more trust in Gray than we will Bergvall, because Bergvall is that raw talent that has come from a league that isn't even probably the standard of our championship. Gray has got that championship year behind him, and that is more positive for him. Now, we saw, we've looked at Gray and we've looked at Bergvall, and Bergvall up until last night has looked quite decent when he's come on. The game before, he looked a little bit shaky. Last night's game was certainly his poorest performance. He really did look out of sorts. Whereas, to me, the only bad games Gray's had was against Bayern, and he was ill. He was ill, and he didn't have the steam. Now, when he played against, I can't remember who it was now, was it Coventry? And he looked tired, but then he got his second wind. Bergvall has, he's got a tremendous pass on him. Let's not sort of pretend that, but I don't know. I think when we look at Ange, he's kind of playing Bergvall. He's giving him his chance, and he's putting him in his position. And when it's come down to the crunch, I would say Bergvall has let him down more than Gray has, for certain. Will he get game time? I think. Look, I mean, how many games have we played in the Premiership? Is it 4 or 5? 5 now?
6.
We're 6 games into the Premiership season, and we're already saying that he's not going to get time. Look at last season. How many injuries did we have? We were absolutely threadbare. He will get time. He will get minutes on the game. But we're not going to bring him in when it's still maybe 1-0 or 0-0. We're going to bring him in when the games are comfortable. And that's the problem at the moment. The team, up until more recently, haven't been clicking. So you're not going to bring a young kid on to totally blow his mind. I mean, so like everyone's talking about Mikey Moore starting on, he's not going to start. He needs to be feathered in slowly. And it's the same with Gray, it's the same with Bergvall. Give them the minutes when it's right. Let's develop them properly rather than just saying, right, in you go. I just think I think it was you, Adrian, that was saying a few weeks ago, it's now a squad game. We shouldn't be talking about the first 11. We should be talking about the first 18, 19. And he is part of that 18, 19 man squad. He will be given time. He will have opportunities. And if that means he plays every cup game, well, he plays every cup game. If that means he plays every European game, he plays every European game. We've got to look at it and think, where do we need him? And at the moment, he's not necessarily needed in the Premiership.
I think my take on it, I think they'll get a lot of game time. And the reason I think, and this will be tactically as well, and the reason I think they'll get a lot of game time, him, Bergvall, Gray, even Lancashire, is because the Premier League is such a grind, it puts you through the mincer, that Ange will probably want to get through, like he did. He only brought on the subs he brought on because he didn't want them playing 4 games before we playing Brighton away. All right, we all got that. You haven't got to be a scientist to recognise that. Similarly, as we've got so many league games going to come up thick and fast, and we'll get through this Europa League campaign, hopefully we'll go on and win it, right? Ange is going to be in a position where in some league games, on the hour mark, if we've got another league game 3 games later, he's going to want to rest Kulusevski, others in that team, the workhorses, and bring them off. And that means that Graham Bergvall will get game time because we'll have another important game coming up. And they're all going to be important games. And when people say easy games, there aren't any easy games. There aren't any easy games in football, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. So I believe they'll get game time, but it's wait and see. I can't prove that, you know what I mean, as a fact. But I just think it's logically they will, because we're playing 48 games minimum this season. And progression through the UEFA Cup and the League Cup, we beat Man City at home, which we will do. I mean, and we move on. I mean, then, then there's going to be game time, because if we're doing well in the league and all that, and to fight on all fronts, that I believe they will get more than enough game time. But that's my reasoning behind it. I just take a logical stance on that. I mean, Alan,
he definitely needs the game time to progress in his career. Both of them, Gray and Bergvall.
We're 10 games into the season, and he's already started 3 games. He's come on in a couple of others, so he's getting game time already.
Yeah.
I mean, where we're saying he's not going to get game time, well, yeah, he's not
No,
going to start.
I was on about Premier.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, we've got to look at it as a season now, and if there's going to be 55, 60 games, then if he starts 30 of them, he started 50% of the games. Well, he could go out on loan and be in the same boat. I mean, to me, him starting for Tottenham Hotspur in a system that is unique to us at the moment, then that's going to benefit him more than going into, say, a team that maybe sits back, or a team that plays on the break, or whatever, that he's going to learn this system, which hopefully going forward will suit him more.
I just want to see him play in the midfield, not shoehorn him in right back, centre back, left back, wherever because at the moment he's just, all right, fair play to him. He can play all those positions, obviously. But
well, he played 30 games at right back for Leeds. He's played in
yeah,
midfield.
yeah.
He only played 3 as a number 10, about 3 as a number 10. I've watched him play. I mean, like,
to be honest, those games for Leeds, though, that was
wherever he's played. I didn't see him play at centre back for Leeds. He may well have done, but he's looked good wherever he's played. So he's had to fill in at right back. We're at the moment. The reason you're right about the shortening, Mark. There's no disagreement there being shortened, especially at right back, because with Spence being ineligible for Europe, he probably wouldn't have. Spence would have played yesterday instead of him, right?
Yeah. Those games for Leeds, though, I think that was just sort of necessity, wasn't it? Because they had nobody else, and so they just put him back there.
Yeah, but let's not forget
he was short.
He was the young player of the championship last year.
Yeah. I'm taking nothing away from him, but I just want to see him.
I know. You know, I mean, what I'm saying is, though, that, again, you know, he's already said his preferred position is sort of like that number 6, basically.
Yeah.
A bit, well, to me, he's more like a Bissouma type player where he plays that number 6 but can take the ball forward. Now, so far, he hasn't played in his position. And you look at it and say, well, yeah, last year he played 30-odd games as a right back for Leeds United. Well, again, you know, Leeds United is no rubbish little team. That, you know, they were challenging for the championship last season.
But they got to the final, didn't they? Did they get to the final?
They were unlucky to not get through to the Premiership this year. Well,
yeah, they lost to Southampton, didn't they?
Yeah.
At Wembley.
And, you know, again, he's played out of position. And I know it's a different league, but you don't win the young player of the season playing out of position if you're no good. If, you know.
Well, I'll be honest with you, that's even more credit to him. If he's playing out of position and he won Young Player of the Year, that gives him even more props in my books, because it wasn't even his position and he got Young Player of the Year. But, you know, I don't want him just shoehorned in anywhere that we feel necessary. That's all I was saying. You know, I'd like to see him play as a number 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree on that. I mean, the only thing that I would kind of look at, and I don't know if this is a thing with players or not, but if you're going to play as that defensive number 6, then understanding your back line will give you more benefit going forward, playing that number 6, that you understand the positional stances of your players behind you. Now, I don't know if that's why Angie's doing it or whether he's just doing it because he needs to put a player there. But for me, if he's putting Archie Gray in those positions that he knows isn't his strongest, then he has a lot of faith in that player's ability. You don't just put anybody, because if it was a case of putting anybody in there, Spence would be playing instead of Archie Gray. So he has a lot of faith in this lad going forward. And that, to me, tells me that...
Kind of like Kulu with the being in the right wing.
Yeah. And that, to me, tells me that with Archie Gray, he is part of his team going forward, that no matter what, he's going to get him on that pitch somehow.
People
might
say
not be right, but...
Well, 40 million reasons is why he's going to get him on the pitch.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not blaming like him for the price, because that was the going rate. But when you pay £40 million for someone, you're going to get him in somewhere.
My take is, when people say to me, you see these modern terms of what a number, is he a number 6? Is he a number 8? Is he a number 10? And people seem rigid with that. I look back to the old days when you had a defensive midfielder, a central midfielder, an attacking midfielder. You know, I see Gray as a central midfielder. Now he may adapt to be a number 6 or a number 8, because he could play box to box, right? That's where I see his final position eventually. I see him in there. In one game against Leeds played Chelsea, he ran the show. So, and there's a lot more to come from him as well. He's got a higher ceiling. That's where I see him. Right. Go on, Alan. What do you want to say?
No. I have to run. I have to go pick up my little boy from school.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on to this guy. Some people saying he would get man of the match. We'll come to that later. Alan, do you want to, before you go?
Sure. Romero was composed. I mean, he committed a bunch of fouls. They just weren't yellow card fouls. And I think maybe he's learned how far he can push that before it becomes a yellow. I think he's gotten pretty good. I think he was jumping on the other team's shoulders and kind of for headers and whatnot. And I think he got called once for kind of doing that. But he had to be composed because he had such a new group, right? He was the captain. So he had to be composed for the sake of the newbies and for the sake of those that were more regular. We needed a stabilizing force, and I think Romero was that. Ferencvaros got through our defense early on pretty easily. And I was a little concerned about that. I thought maybe, well, if this continues, he's going to have to make changes. But they found their form. I think they found their form and kind of grew into it. You guys were saying earlier, it's tough when you throw a team together that's never really worked together. You're still kind of learning how each other plays, and what you can and can't do with them. Whereas like with Mickey Van de Ven and Romero, they know where they're going to be. They're the next Toby and Yan. That's where they're headed. But Romero and Archie Gray, I don't know that he Archie Gray's just happy to be there. He's just happy to get some game time. And I think he really heavily depended on Romero. I noticed when it came to passing, too, they did a lot of passing back into the middle to Romero, more than I think they usually do. And I think that's probably because Archie Gray's kind of nervous. Yeah, I think Romero did the job very well yesterday.
Sorry?
Yeah, I think Romero is. See you later, Alan.
Yeah,
Later, guys.
I think Romero is just a class act. Look, he's had a couple of shaky games for us, or a couple of shaky moments within the games. But again, that you kind of, I don't know whether you accept that with him because it's going to come. But yeah, I think he's turning into a real leader on the pitch. He's certainly he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet now. But I just think I just love the player. I think he's fantastic. He's quite nonchalant. He's quite, I don't know, he plays with a bit of arrogance. He's got that typical Argentinian dirtiness behind him. And yeah, he can be reckless. Let's not pretend that he isn't anymore, but he'll always have that mad streak. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with that, Dan, don't forget, Spence can't play in Europe, so you've got to keep giving Spence a little bit of time. So that's maybe why Spence came on against United and not Gray, because Gray was always going to play in Europe. I think that's a little bit of a cop out, but yeah, Romero first one of the first names on the team sheet these days.
Your thoughts on Romero, Mark?
Now let's get this straight, right? Romero with the armband is a different man. He should be permanent captain, right? Now, who would? No, I'm not slagging him off or nothing, but who would you want as your captain? The nicey guy, Sonny. That if you weren't doing your job, please, a nice spoken man sort of says to you, "Oh, come on, just try better." Or would you like Romero giving you a kidney punch if you don't do your job properly?
Definitely.
You know what I mean? That's the sort of captain I want. Someone who's going to like a Graham Roberts, who's going to have his teeth kicked out. You know what I mean? That's the sort, and still get up and carry on.
Well, we've
That's,
been crying out for it, haven't we, Mark? You know,
Yeah.
we've been saying
Yeah.
we've got no backbone in that team. We've got
Yeah.
nobody who's going to just go out there and put everything on the line. And
He
we've
is
now
the
got
perfect-
him. Yeah,
he
we've now
is
got
the
him.
perfect captain for us. Perfect captain, Romero. Yeah.
I don't know whether he's. I mean, to me, I think he's one of those players that I don't know whether he is a captain material. I think he's a leader.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I think he's, but I don't think he necessarily needs the captain's armband to be that leader, because I think he's that natural. I don't know how to explain it, but to me, he's the sort of player that he's only going to be motivating you one way, and that's shouting at you.
Yeah,
he's
bloody
not
right.
one of these players that's probably going to go up and say, "Look, come on, mate,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can do
but-
better." He's going to be like, "If you're not."
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not saying bad words about Sonny, but the impression
but
I
he
get
is
with
the
Sonny,
opposite, I
he's
think.
too nice. He's too nice to people.
He's
I mean,
the kind of opposite to Romero. You want somebody kind of in the middle almost.
I mean, you even see when we score, whoever scores for Tottenham, Romero run over to him and give him a kidney jab.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's when he scored.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one who runs up and you've just scored an absolute worlder, and he said, "Well, you could have passed it."
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, Romero is the person I'd like to be captain of the club, without a shadow of a doubt. Because you know what I mean? It's the old thing, it's the old like saying, if you're going into war, I want to go into war with Romero leading me. You know what I mean? Because he take no prisoners. Like, you know what I mean? And since the couple of games he's had the armband, he's a different animal because he feels that responsibility.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, I mean, I think he's our best defender, definitely, and he's the player that you want in your squad, you want on your team. You don't want to play against him, you want him on your team. Full stop.
There's only 2 or 3 players. I mean, obviously the 2 centre backs, like definitely in the team, and I'd say Maddison maybe when he's on form, but trouble is with Maddison, he dips in and out, and someone like Bentancur. So you've only really got 4 that you would say, yeah, they've got to be in the team. You know, the sort of rest, well, we're very under strength, and so you could say the 2 fullbacks as well.
Decky's captain of Sweden, playing out of his skin this season.
Yeah. You see, Decky to me is maybe more of a player that kind of feel that would be the captain type player, because he's got a little bit more aggression to him. He's got that dirty side. He never stops, but I kind of don't also see him being like Sonny, where he's just Mr. Nice Guy, but he's not necessarily the aggression of Romero. I don't think Maddison's captain material, because I think, again, he's too up and down. He needs to just concentrate on himself, because when he's good, he's fantastic. When he's not good, he's invisible. But yeah, I mean, like you say, I mean, even Bentancur, I think Bentancur could be a good captain. I think there are a couple of players on there, and I think, to me, you make Romero vice captain because he's the sort of player that just leads naturally. He's a natural sort of player that's going to get in there. And I mean, the other option is, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but maybe Vicario.
I don't like goalkeepers. I don't like keepers.
I do get the argument behind it, but the other side to it is they stand there for a lot of the game watching what your players are doing in front of them. And unfortunately, yeah, they can't always change things further up. But I do think sometimes a goalie can make a good captain. But I do see the argument about them not being the captain.
I've always liked a centre back or a midfielder. So someone who's in and around most of the play.
The modern day captain's also a PR man, isn't he? I mean, you go back in the days, when Roberts and Perriman, they would urge the team on, want more effort, or if it's a question we were being bullied or tackled, it'd be like, stick some tackles in. Now you can't stick the tackles in. So all a captain can really do on a field now is like, come on, guys, and urge them that way. More work, more work. It's a totally different role. I mean, I've always struggled with the fact that if you've got to motivate yourself to walk on that pitch to play for Tottenham Hotspur, I don't really want you at my club. Seriously. I mean, you shouldn't have to motivate. So when people talk about leaders, Spurs fans, I get where they're coming from. But especially a lot of times these issues are raised when we lose a game, we draw a game or something like that. I get the frustration. I get the anger. I get all that. But I just think it's a desperate way of trying to fathom out what went wrong. Oh, well, there's not enough leaders in the team. Oh, it's this, that, and the other. It's not that. It's players individually. And I don't always look to the manager because that team at Coventry played absolute crap, right? And there was no excuse for it. And to play that badly, you can't put that down for a manager. I'm just using that as a really big example, right? When things don't go right and we won the game. If we'd lost it, there'd have been a supreme meltdown, right? But I think players should motivate themselves. And it doesn't mean to say they've all got to be, you've all got to have the same personality and be naturally aggressive and all that. But then be silent and strong, if that's the case, if you're that type on the field. But do your job to the best. Give 100% on that field. You're playing for my club. Give 100%, right? If you can't do that, if you switch off, look at what the competition has made, even with the new kids coming in. We'll come on to Basuma later, but players have started to up their game a bit. They've upped their game a bit because they got competition. So we're on Romero, right? Well, let's pass from Romero.
I'll just chuck one other quickly in there though for a captain. What about Porro?
Yeah, he's wildly enthusiastic, isn't he? And he absolutely loves the club.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
he would be an option.
There aren't many more players out there that have passion like he has.
Yeah.
He just loves everything, and he loves a good dirty tackle as well. So
I want to go on to this guy who I really like, but I thought average yesterday, personally. And I like the player. He's got a great skill set. Again, I don't know if with him playing with quite a few changes in the team and the weather conditions, I'm going to be forgiving with him. He will come good because he is good. He showed that in 2 second-half performances, both games against Bayern Munich, what he's about. And we were being overrun before he came on in both those games. And he made a big difference. If you can do it against Bayern, it was only a half, right, each time. I've got confidence in this guy, but he wasn't terrible, and I think he just couldn't get into the game and dominate in the way that I know he will in certain games. Mark, do you remember?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've been more impressed with Bergvall than I have Archie Gray, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both of them are going to be superstars. They are, because you can see they've both got talent. But it's the same. You even get it with the experienced players. They can have good games. They can have bad games. You just hope that the good games outweigh the bad games. You know what I mean? So, I mean, what is Bergvall? 18, 19, 18, I think. So, I mean, he just needs time. He just needs time. And he's another one that we discussed on Dan's show. Should he be sent out on loan as well? because is he going to get the minutes? Because, you know, when you're sort of 18, 19, 20, that's your sort of formative years that's going to make you as a footballer. You know, I just pray he gets like decent Premier League minutes, not just 5 minutes when we're winning 3-0. You know, I mean, it's like I said, like, but, you know, I hope every player at Tottenham does well, you know, but it's just, I just want him to see him develop the right way, give him the trust, stick him in, you know, but you come back to, will they only get their chance if we've got injuries and suspensions? You know, I mean,
No, they'll get their chances because
no, but I want them to force their way in, you know, so that the first team have got that competition.
Becky's done that in the midfield position, isn't he? So he's forced himself in that position, and then with Maddison playing a little bit deeper than him, it's just synergistically so good. You know what I mean? They work so well together. Yeah, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I believe those players will get game time, not because Ange said they wouldn't. We're going to need them.
Yeah,
it's simply because it gives you a chance with having them even on the bench to bring off key players on the hour mark. If you've got another big game in 3 games, another big game, I can't fault Ange's management of the squad so far, and I get those with that are criticising, he isn't getting game time, we played money for him. But hang about, Ange picks the team. He said they will play. So what's the problem? He said they're going to have a big part. He said a big part to play this season. So I don't see what the problem is. So, you know, if you want them to play all the time, half the fan base will say, well, you're playing Bergvall and Gray, but you've left Decky out the side, or you've left Maddison out the side, or whatever. So we'd be having an opposite argument. So it's a question of whether you trust in Ange. You know, I do. I'm fully in Ange because I said at the beginning of the season, I will, and all the players, even Werner, not because I want Werner at the club. Why are these people at my club, even managers that have been at the club before that I didn't like while they're at the club? I wasn't a fan of Mourinho and Conte, right? I mean, I wasn't a fan of Terry Neal and and others but I mean, like, while they're at the club, I will support them. I'm not going to boo them off the pitch, the players or things like that. But if you ask me, do I really want them there? Then I'll tell you on a podcast, no, I don't. I don't want Werner at my club, right? I didn't want us to bring Johnson in, but we'll talk about him later, right? So we've covered
about Bergvall.
But yeah, we're going to
Did you want to say anything, Soren?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think that's his poorest performance for us, and I think it showed his lack of experience in a bigger game and the atmosphere. Whether it was the atmosphere or whether it was the game, I don't know. But he certainly looked a little bit lost. But he's an 18-year-old kid. He's going to have bad performances. Do we slate him? Do we criticize him? No, let's move on. Now is the time that we back this kid and we say, look, next game he might come out and he might be the man of the match. But going forward, that lad has got some talent.
Oh, yeah.
He will be. No, let me rephrase that. I expect him to be a superstar one day. I'm not talking World Cup. I'm not talking world beater. He will be a star in a team one day. And I hope it's for Tottenham and I hope it's bloody soon because he has got some real talent. I'm not going to say he's a Glenn Hoddle, but he reminds me of Glenn Hoddle, that he's got that exuberance. He's got that. When he's on the ball and when we've seen him and he's played well, he seems to slow down. Everything goes slow when he's got the ball. And I don't mean he's a slow player or anything like that, but he just seems to have that time to do what he needs to do. And he will be a big player one day, but he's going to have games like he did last night. He's going to have games like he did last night. Full stop.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you're comparing him to Glenn Hoddle, let's just hope he don't go into commentary and slag us off most of the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not so much that I mean he's going to be. He just reminds me that when Glenn Hoddle was on the ball.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
He had that time,
Yeah.
He made things look effortless. And when Bergvall has when we've seen him and he's played really well, he seems to do that same thing. He just seems to be effortless. He's don't know. He's just got that je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. But let's just pray you don't go into punditry and spend most of the game slagging us off.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, in it. It's
I expected better of Glenn Hoddle than that. He was my hero when I was a child.
I think it's one of those with Glenn that, look, I mean, he went to Chelsea for God's sake and managed them. That was terrible. But he's still going to be that player that just was effortless in our midfield.
Yeah.
Sorry, Johnny.
Right, let's move on to a guy I've been very critical of last season. Is he back to his best? He must have been. I've been impressed with his early season form when he's had game time. His hold on to the ball, his sharp half turns and all that. I mean, but others may have a different reason. I thought he was good yesterday. I thought he was good. I thought him and Sarr were the glue, really. But what do you think, Mark? What you were celebrating your birthday at the same time? I don't expect you,
No, I sort of, because he didn't come on till the second half, did he? Or did he start? Oh, I don't even know who started, to be honest.
Started.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, to be honest, Basuma, I don't want to compare him, but to me, he reminds me of a certain Moussa Dembele. In spells, he does. I'm not saying he's good or anything, but the way he started the season is like the Basuma when we first bought him from Brighton. He just glides past players. The ball don't seem to leave his feet. And at the moment, he's fantastic, but I hope he don't fall off a cliff again like he did last season. I mean, it's definitely between him and Bentancur to play that sort of holding midfield role. I wouldn't like to tell you which one I'd prefer, because personally I'd put both of them in. But then you'd have to take Maddison or Kulu out. And I don't think we can afford to do that either. So at the moment,
because it was in pre-season. We've seen it last season. It was Basuma, Sarr, and Maddison in the first 2 games in pre-season. And started a couple of those pre-season games with Basuma, Sarr, and Maddison. Decky upset the apple cart, and rightly so. Yeah. He's earned his place. So we've now got different blends. So we know he can play Bentancur, Karen Mark, sorry.
No. But then again, see, this is what I mean about shoehorning players in. Decky has always been that sort of middle of the park player. He was that at Juventus when he was there, and he's come out. I'm sure he said it in an interview. His preferred position is number 10, or up that sort of, not on the wing. He does a job out on the wing, but he's not as good as he is in the middle. And this is the main. Well, it's not really a moan because we won 5 out of 5, but the main gripe is that we sort of shoehorn players into position just to sort of get them in there, because our squad is not. Unfortunately, our squad is not deep enough at the moment.
Yeah, I slightly disagree in a sense that I don't think Basuma's back to his best yet. I think there's still more to come.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I think yesterday was probably one of his better matches, but I still think he still makes a couple, some mistakes, and it's silly mistakes.
Big up, Lozone.
That's the problem with him. That he can do better, and I think those first 10 games last year, I think he was on fire. And I
Yeah.
don't think he's hit that level yet this season. Not consistently, anyway. I'm torn with Basuma because I want him so much to go back to how he was before he came to us, and then there was first 10 games. And don't know. For me, I think Benton Kerr's in front of him now. Yeah, look. I think Benton Kerr's, he's hitting back to that form, and I think it's just such a shame that he's about to get a ban because I think he's the perfect person to let Hulu and Madison do their thing. Bissouma, just don't know. He's not consistent enough at the moment. And like I say, it's just so frustrating because he is an absolutely fantastic player when he's on form, but he's just not on form. Or it's almost as if he can't concentrate for the full 90 minutes. That's the way I look at it. That he'll if he's on for 90 minutes, he'll have 70 minutes of good football, and then for 20 minutes, and it's a minute here, a minute there, where he just does something stupid, or there'll be passes suddenly go awry, or I don't know. There's just something where he's not consistent enough, knowing how good he can be.
You got anything more to add on that, Mark, or I'll move to the next banner?
No. You can move on.
Okay. Now this guy, he's been resurgent, hasn't he? 85 minutes, we get the second goal. Resurgent Johnson scores. That's 5 goals in 5 games, as many goals as last season, and we're only 6 games into the league. Now, I didn't want this player when I watched him on video before he came to the club. I wasn't so much questioning the money. I don't pay it, but I thought, what's all the fuss about? Now, I'm beginning to flip-flop in my opinion on him because, 3 of the goals he scored out of those 5 were exceptional strikers' finishes. They were class. And that is not freak. That's not luck. Not when you do it 3 times. So, I don't know. What was your take before he came to the club, Mark? What was your take on this player and his form season?
Yeah, no, Johnson, I've been up and down because when he first come in, I was like, yeah, give him time. Then the start of the season, I was like, no. He's when he first came, I was one of his biggest defenders. Brandon Johnson, every show I went on, give him time. And then this season, no, I will admit I went off him. But in the last few games, well, on Tottenham on tour, if you watch Morning Brews, I'm always putting JDL in the thing, Johnson Defence League, because Phil P, and on there put Kulu Defence League. He started KDL and I started JDL in their chat. At the moment, he's fantastic, and long may it continue. I've been up and down with him, I will admit. Because it was only a few weeks ago, I was saying, oh no, he's only an impact sub now. Bring him on when the defences are tired and let him run out. But it's like any Tottenham player. It's only, I don't hate anybody, but it's only critique, There's a difference between sort of critiquing a player and attacking him personally. And all the stuff he went through with his social media is absolutely disgusting. I haven't seen any of the tweets or the Instagram or Facebook messages he received, but that's not on in any walk of life. You know what I mean? To attack him personally, racially, or I'd seen none of the comments that he received. Obviously, I don't think anybody has, but we sort of know what they were all about. It wasn't just saying, "Oh, you're shit" and all that. I mean that's fair play. If you're working your job and you don't perform, you're going to get critique for it. That's the same with whatever you do for a living. You know, so, but to attack someone personally, and that's completely out of order. You know, so, but at the moment he's proven us all right, and long may it continue.
Soren?
It's a hard one with Brennan Johnson. That there is so much going about that is undefensible. That some of the stick he's been given is, you can't defend it. I don't care what you want to say, you cannot defend it. You know, there are many people out there saying he's shit. He's not shit. He's had poor performances, and he maybe wasn't up to the grade of Tottenham. There was a reason we bought him, and there was a reason Andrew stuck with him, and that was because he saw something in him. Now, am I his biggest fan? No, I'm still not his biggest fan, but I will defend him because he's a Tottenham player, and I'll defend him when he's not playing well, and I'll defend him when he is playing well. And same as a lot of the arguments behind the scenes where people saying, well, we've got the right to criticize him. Yeah. The difference is when you're saying, oh, look, this lad's had a rubbish game, you know, he's been rubbish today, he's not played well. That's criticism. When you constantly say this player is shit, you know, and some of the abuse where Mark says he hasn't seen, and you know, I've seen a little bit of it, and I've seen some before it got deleted. I've seen some of the posts on social medias, and it was absolutely disgusting, some of it.
Yeah.
And there is no defense for any of it. And the biggest problem comes that, where do you draw the line at abuse? Where you know, what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable? And if one person's saying, oh, you're not very good at your job, why should that be more acceptable than hundreds of people telling you you're not good at your job? This lad is a Premiership player. He's at the top of his game. He might get better, but anybody that's playing in the Premiership is not shit at football. I don't care what you say. They are not shit at football. You cannot be shit when you are in the top 1% of your profession. You cannot be. Now, you might have rubbish games, and you might play poorly, and you might be lacking in confidence, and I get all that. I honestly do get all that. But you know, when we sit there, if you look up the definition of abuse, it is not getting really, you know, racial abuse and things like that. There is a lot of different forms of abuse. Now, the only good thing that has come out of this is he's now proving these people wrong. And I am so pleased for the lad, because that game where I can't remember who we played, but when he scored, and there was absolutely no enthusiasm in his face. It was like, yeah, I've come. Was it Coventry? I think it was. He scored the winner, and
he looked broken, didn't he?
He looked broken, and
yeah,
it's, you know, when us as grown men and women see something like that, that's the time you stop with whatever criticism you want to give this player. Now, people will tell me I'm wrong, and you know, they have the right to criticize, and fair enough, you go down that line. But when you see that lad is broken, the only thing we should be doing as fans is then getting behind him, show him that he's part of our club, show him that we want him at our club. And it's all right. And now he's doing well, we're all suddenly jumping back on his, you know, on his side. That's the wrong time. We should have, you know, everybody should have been behind him when he was getting all the abuse, not then criticizing him further. That's my argument. That I'm not even going to go there with you, Dan. When we see somebody being kicked on the floor, it's like you see all these videos of people getting kicked on the floor. Well, instead of videoing it, go and help the person. instead of criticizing him when the person's at his most low, go and help him. Show him that he's needed, he's wanted in our club. I just don't get the mentality of some people, and fair enough, I might be wrong. I've seen people get so low that they don't go any further. They end their life. Now, I'm not saying Brennan Johnson was at that stage, but he was broken against Coventry. But yet he still came out and he still played for our club and he scored the winner and he didn't even want to celebrate. Well, I hope all you people out there that think it's fine to criticize all the time are happy with the way you broke that lad. I really hope that you're proud of yourselves. And I'm not going to say any more about it.
I will say, now I've seen, and I probably said it on air about him being shit. That doesn't mean that I'm better at football than him. Just because someone says it's the content. I mean, all right, I'll say it now. Werner is shit. Right? He is. Right? In my personal opinion, he is shit. Right? Now, does that mean I'm better than him at football? Of course not. Does that mean I could beat him in a race? Definitely not. But when you say someone is shit on a stream or, chatting to your mates down the pub, that doesn't mean you're better than them. It's just he's not up to our expectations for what we think should be in our team. Right? So just because you say he's shit, it doesn't mean, to me, like saying he's shit, that's just criticism. That's not slagging him off as a person. That's just criticizing his football ability, which as fans, we're all entitled to do. So, but it's when it gets personal or racial or.
The thing is, though, Mark, like we say, it's such a hard topic to approach because we're not talking about one person sitting there and say, the thing is with social media, it has made everything so different. And
well, that's why I don't go on it.
Well, we're on social media now, so yeah.
No. But you know what I mean, like Twitter and all that. I got no time for any of that.
Yeah, the thing is with it all now. Look, we're in an age where you've got to, but everything is about being politically correct. And you go back, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, and if a player wasn't good enough, the only place you heard it was kind of on the terraces. You didn't have this constantly. Yeah. Now, the problem now with social media is it is absolutely everywhere, and everybody is so hard because they hide behind a keyboard. And we attack these players when they've got no chance of coming back at us. How many people, and I'm not saying nobody would, but how many people that have given him all this abuse would do it to his face? There certainly won't be as many. Now, you can stand on the terraces and boo him and things like that. And I get that. That's a totally different aspect. If they've had a really bad game, then they deserve criticism. If they've come out and done something wrong. But the thing we've got to remember as well is we don't know why they're having a bad game. Maybe something's happened in the personal life. We go to work. I certainly do. And if I've had an argument with the wife or if something's gone wrong in my personal life, sometimes I take it to work. And sometimes I'm horrible at work. And sometimes can't concentrate on work. And the problem is with these players, they are in everybody's eyesight. We're watching them. Now, we look at Brennan Johnson, and again, he's a young kid. Jesus, I've got kids older than him. And I know if my kids were getting the abuse he was getting, I'd be doing time now. Because you just, why people think it's acceptable, I just don't understand. I really don't understand it that, as grown-ups that we find it acceptable to tell other people all, you know, that they're shit, that they shouldn't be doing this, they can't work, that they shouldn't be playing for our team. Well, they are playing for our team. And I'm only talking about Brennan. You know, I'm not saying that it don't happen in other clubs, because it probably does. But I don't know. I just find it incredible that people out there want to break a young lad like that to the point of he doesn't want to turn up for work, and he doesn't want to play for the team that have given him a chance. And when you know, I mean,
I think this is where you have to. I think this is. We're going to move on, but I think this is where you have to trust in Ange and the management team. They've obviously seen a lot more of him. Even when I was critical of Johnston, I'm thinking, I've mentioned it on a few podcasts, like how is it like he's getting he's getting all this game time. We knew that he would have been drip fed into the side, barring injuries, when he was first introduced in the team.
Yeah.
And Ange actually threw him in his first debut game was away to Arsenal. That is a big call. That's a big call for the manager to put him in a game against Arsenal, which we should have won and drew 2-2. Yeah, so I think on all podcasts in general, they've all come across and said, yes, you know, the trolls that really give him shit abuse, you know, they are just scum, which they are, in my opinion. They are just utter scum. Yeah, but we covered that, and you can bet that over 90% of the fan base have backed him. At the stadium, there's never been no lack of backing for the players there this season. The worst thing I ever see was the booing for Davinson Sanchez in a long time. But, you know, after all the first media shit was coming and he took his game down, the fans were singing, there's only one Brennan Johnson at a stadium before he even scored. You know what I mean? So that was good. So we'll move on to something more positive now, because this is a guy I've eulogised about. I've seen so much of this kid playing football for the under-21s and the 18s, right? Mikey Moore, impressive. In 2023-24, all competitions, Moore played 16 games, scored 16 goals and had 9 assists. Moore also scored 4 goals in 3 games for England. Yesterday, I think he showed that he's ready. Mark, ready?
Yeah, he was up there for, well, what I can remember of it, he was up there for me as man of the match.
I'll come to that after this. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just the first bit I'm going to say on it. But like, obviously, he's only what, 17? 17, is he?
August. He was 17 in August.
Well, he's only just 17 then.
Yes.
But like, I want to see him now get them minutes. Would I sooner he played in front of Werner? 1,000,000% I would, because Werner is, well, he's stealing the living. I said it earlier. He's stealing the living at the club. Like, you know, but Werner is still going to be utilised, but I want to see Werner I want to see Mikey Moore not get 5 minutes at the end when we're 2 or 3-0 up. I want to see him get half. I want to see him get 25 minutes, half an hour, up to a half of football. You know, I mean, this is the way you're going to... Is he? And he is... well, from what I saw last night, he is definitely ready. You know, I mean, let's face it, right? He's 17-year-old and he could take Werner's place now.
5'10", 11.
Well, there we go. Yeah,
he's low center of gravity.
Yeah.
For the under-21s, he's played on the left, but because he's right-footed, but he's been mainly utilised. He's also been used on the right in the pre-season friendlies because we had different options left. But he can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play through the middle, he can play left midfield, central midfield, and wide right midfield. And he can carry the ball forward like Moussa Dembele, and he scores goals. I mean, I've watched reserves games. I watched all the under-21 games last season. I'd sooner watch our under-21s play than watch a Premier League game on Sky because I am everything Tottenham.
Well, I think you told me, Adrian. I think you told me Like,
The only other kid I've seen as good as him come through the ranks, well, two actually come through the ranks with Perriman and Hoddle. This kid has got absolutely everything. Soren?
He's phenomenal, but he's not ready. He's not far off. He's not far off, but to me, he just needs that steady influx of minutes. Just build it and build it and build it and build it and build it. I think if we chuck him straight in now,
it ruined him.
It could ruin him. Yeah. I mean, look, there's been a lot of arguments, and I mean, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say it, but people keep telling me that everybody's saying that Gray is generational and Bergvall is generational, and they are talents that will come good. Mikey Moore is probably generational, and he will be something else. He will be the one that we all sing about. You know, he'll be the one that we're talking like we do with Hoddle and Perriman and Mabbott. He'll be the one. But that's saying that he could go all wrong for him. You know, I mean, he's 17 years old. You know, we've said it about a couple of players where we really do expect them to do more than they have done. For me, as much as I love Ange, this will be my only criticism of him tonight, probably. I don't know if he's the perfect manager to bring Mikey Moore on, as in further his development. Mikey, I want him to start every match, but he can't. And he's had one game for us, and where everybody's telling us, "Oh, we played a shit team." Well, we played a shit team, and then he shone. He might not shine against the big teams, so that's, you know, this is where we've got to now be realistic with Mikey Moore. That I don't doubt that he'll be brilliant for us. I just hope we use him right. I really do, because he could be an absolute superstar.
Mark, he looked good
all you need to know about
against Hearts in the pre-season games. He looked good as well. He set up goals. I mean, no, Bergvall set him up. Sorry, I'm with a one. Yeah, go on.
The thing is with Mikey Moore, right, is that I'm sure all three of us on air will agree. If you had a choice of starting Mikey Moore or Werner, we'd all pick Mikey Moore, and he's only 17. You know, that tells you all you need to know about him. You know, all right, to be better than Werner is not difficult. You know, but
the thing we've said with Werner, though, is
it's a different skill set.
It's a different skill set. Yeah, I mean, the
there
problem
is so
with
much
Werner
more
is
to Mikey Moore than there is Werner. Werner might do him for pace, but more.
No, and I think the thing is with Werner, his positional play is very good. He's always in the right place at the right time. Mikey Moore has to learn that still. If you put them side by side and say who has the most talent, then I would say you would pick Mikey Moore. Who is going to get you off your seat? Who have you got more faith in? At the moment, it's got to be Mikey Moore. But if you could get Werner back to playing how he was for Leipzig in his first stint.
That was 15 years ago, though.
I know it was. But he was a very, very good player. He you know, that's why Chelsea bought him. That's why Chelsea paid the money for him back then, and then it all went wrong. Now,
well, Chelsea offered 10 million for Mikey Moore, and which Spurs turned it down.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's no doubt in Mikey Moore is going to be an absolutely fantastic player. And there's no doubt in that most of us would turn around and say, give him his chance right now. Put him on in front of Werner. But the only thing I will say with Werner, and it's kind of the defense that you can give to him, is his knowledge of the game is superior to Mikey Moore. Mikey Moore will get there and he will surpass him very quickly. I'm not saying that. But I just think at the moment, Werner is the one that starts in front of Mikey Moore until Mikey Moore proves he can do it. And then there's no doubt in that Mikey Moore should be first choice probably. And it won't be long.
I don't want to see him for like 5 minutes when we're 3-0 up.
No, I agree with you.
No,
yeah.
I want to see him get 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or even a half.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. The problem is Andy's going to trust him.
Yeah, I would understand with Brighton coming up, 2 games in 3 days for a 70-year-old. And I've said this before about Bergvall and Gray. People, even though they've got the physicality, and even though Mikey Moore's got the physicality, have they got the stamina, enough energy in the tank to play 90 minutes first of all, and then play 90 minutes consecutively? Now, me personally, I did an article today and posted it in 2 WhatsApp groups and 3 Facebook groups about this. And I said that I would have no qualms about playing Mikey Moore Sunday against Brighton. He didn't look knackered when he came off to me. Didn't look all out of gas. And if it was there was a question over his stamina with 2 games in 3 days, he's 70 years of age, I would still start him until it looked like he was running out of gas. And if it was on 60 minutes or half time, then take him off and bring Werner on when legs were tired. Because we're going to have to utilise Werner. And I don't want to talk about Werner anymore. But that's what I want to do, So that's Mikey Moore. Okay, let's move on because I want to discuss Brighton briefly. I don't know how much time you guys have got. So we move to the next banner.
Not a lot longer.
Okay. Man of the match for you guys. I put 6 in. I thought I could have given Vicario for the saves. Porro, that dummy and that shot at the post. I mean, I've really had to eat my words on Porro. I was very critical of when he comes. Romero's sound, Sar's sound, Basuma's sound, more. I think I know how the fans will go on this one, though. Man of the match. Chat, join in your man of the match from yesterday.
I certainly wouldn't give it to Basuma. And I don't think I'd give it to Sar. Vicario, Porro. Porro was brilliant. Yeah. Romero was brilliant. Vicario was he was superb. Mikey Moore was superb. I think for the fact it was his first game.
Yes.
And we played him away, and it was in an atmosphere that he'll have never played in before, probably.
Don't forget the wet conditions.
Pardon?
Don't forget the wet conditions. You left the wet conditions.
I think. Look, I think
and the fog that come in at halftime. There was a fog at halftime.
Bloody hell! I mean, that was ridiculous. Yeah. I think the conditions we kind of got to get away from because we are playing in England. All these, Mikey Moore especially, will be used to playing in the rain and things like that, and it's not like they're coming off a Sunday league pitch when they're training. He's played on some of the best pitches in the world. Training.
Way, isn't it? Is it Hotspur Way all 21 games?
Yeah. So let's not bring the everybody else had to play in the same conditions, but I just think the fact that it was his kind of debut to start a match for Tottenham Hotspur in a European game away from home in a side that was very weakened in the sense of we didn't play our first 11, then it's hard not to give it to Mikey Moore.
I don't know what the chat's saying. Okay, we'll move on to the last bit to do with the Ferencvaros game.
I said Mikey Moore anyway.
Yeah, I know. And substitutes game management. What's your verdict on that, Mark?
It was very brave of him to chuck the 4 youngsters in right at the beginning. But we won. So he's an absolute genius, and the quad is on.
And whoa.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
What were you drinking yesterday, Mark?
All sorts.
The big yellow taxi is going to pull up outside his...
Yeah. No. Well, the only thing I was disappointed with last night is those fullbacks seemed to invert a lot. I thought we'd stopped all that stupidness. You know, I did notice that. Well, I did notice that creeped in again, and I don't like that because it makes us too easy. It makes us too easy to play against because they did have some chances, mate. You know, the Brentford game changed me when the fullback stayed out wide.
Yeah.
You know, and there was none of that Maddison getting crowded up in his position and all that. And I thought, he's tweaked something. And that sort of dragged me back on the Ange train.
Do we think, though, sometimes it's the players that do that rather than Ange telling them to do that? I mean, I'm not saying it's not a bit of both or it's one or the other, but I do agree with you. We do look a better team when our fullbacks and that stay out on the wing. You know, it gives us that space and it creates more space for Maddison in the middle. But look, he was extremely brave to chuck them kids in.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I was very surprised. It didn't surprise me that Bergville and Gray started. It did surprise me that we went with Lancashire up front and Mikey Moore. Now, I don't know if it was right putting Lancashire up front straight away. I would have maybe played Solanke up front and then brought him off at half time.
He worked hard, Lancashire, though. For those.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not.
He did okay. He did okay, I thought.
I'm not criticising his game whatsoever. I just think to put 4 kids on there was extremely brave. Now, at the end of the day, we won. We came away with the points, and we gave these kids some experience, which is absolutely tremendous. So,
and they came up with the goods because an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, and a 22-year-old had a hand in the first goal. So, you know, and he does play youngsters. There's a lot of myth about other managers playing youngsters. They don't. They only play them when they're forced to for injuries and suspensions.
I mean, you can look back at the game and say the goals we scored and all the big chances started with Archie Gray, progressed on to either Papsar, Mikey Moore, or no, but I don't know if Bergvall had a little bit of a sort of bit in one of the goals, didn't he? But you know, the youngsters did very well, and you could see they're hungry. I think with Lancashire, he wasn't spectacular, but he kind of wasn't poor neither. You know, he kind of had one of those okay games. He's got a lot of. Is that Jimbo?
No, that's Spud.
All right, so I didn't know whether that's Jimbo in our chats or not. I mean, look, it's hard to criticise Ange in the sense of he's starting to get things right. We've won the last 5 games, and as much as there's still tweaks to be done, how would you criticise a manager that's just won you the last 5 games and things are starting to look good? And the players almost look like they're fully buying into what he wants now. And when they buy into what he wants, we look a far better team. Now, like Mark said, he's still got to adapt a little bit, but he's my manager and I'm fully behind him.
All right. Okay. Let's move on quickly. If you guys got to go shortly, 10 or 15 or whatever it is, and we'll go on to this. Let's go on the predicted lineup for Brighton and predictions in the chat, please. And I want to thank you all in the chat. You know, we've had about 42 in, and we've averaged about 35 throughout the show. I want to thank you all, you know, for listening to us. And if you could subscribe to the channel, leave a
Do the
comment,
like thing and all that.
and give it
Thumbs up and all
video
that
a thumbs up once we finish. That would be fantastic. But thanks to you, I know it's Friday night and people like to be out, But we're going to keep doing Friday night shows, because we'll mainly do shows Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at the same time, because Tuesdays is like pre the Thursday Europa League games and post the game on Sunday. Fridays is going to be following the Europa League game like it is now, and pre our Sunday games. And Sunday, Ian Meth will be doing his usual post-match game, whoever we've played on a Sunday. So that's what we're about. We're a discerning Spurs group. We like to bring you fact-based stuff, and we like to be mature and sensible in the way we debate things. And that's the way we're going to go. We're not going to turn into a rant-a-thon. Otherwise, people that want to come on and rant will soon find that they'll be barred. Okay.
Well, if it's justified, if rants are justified.
Yeah, rants are justified. What I mean, what I mean. I mean, if you over the top, what I'm talking about, if you're going to be over the top,
as long as they agree with our opinions, it's justified.
Yeah, no, you don't have to agree with us. That's not a prerequisite at all. So, predicted lineup, guys. Do you think it's going to be the starting lineup that started against Man United, or are you like me? I hope Mikey Moore starts instead of Werner, simply because I think I would play him. I want to see if he can do 2 90-minute games in the Premier League. It's obviously faster and more demanding than what he's been used to playing for. But he coped so well with it yesterday. But this might be a bit faster for him at Brighton. Two teams that have play a higher line. Everyone's predicting a cricket score. What do you think the lineup will be, Mark? I'll come to you first.
Oh, well, obviously the back five is going to... Well, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't the same side that went out against Man United. But to be honest, Adrian, if you're going to Brighton, I'd sooner you played than Werner, to be honest. But certainly stick Mikey Moore in there. Let's see if he can do it. I mean, it's going to be more or less the same, isn't it? I mean, did Biss start against Man United?
No, Bentancur.
No, it was Bentancur, wasn't it? No, it's obviously going to be Bentancur because Biss played, didn't he, last night? Yeah, it's going to be more or less a Man United team, I think.
I mean, the other thing that I'm saying about Moore is, I mean, if those in the chat are familiar, I mean, like, after Sunday, you've got from the 6th to the 14th of October is an international break. So you can tire players out now if you want to do it, because they're going to have a break. I mean, it's only Solanke being called away on international duty. Maddison's staying here. So that Ange will know that. That'll be part of his thinking, even if his thinking wasn't already setting his mind before Brighton game come up. So, Mikey Moore don't play for the England team yet, but I don't think he's far away, to be honest with you. Soren team, same as Man United.
I would expect so.
Thank you for subbing.
Pardon?
There's a guy who subbed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it's one of those that, look, it'll be fantastic. If Mikey Moore starts, then I think we're all going to be quite excited. I don't think he will. I'd be surprised if he does. Saying that, we're going into a break, so why not? I just think he'll start with Werner. I really do. And I think Bentancur will come back in and it'll be typical back four. Kulu, Maddison and Bentancur in midfield. Brennan Johnson on the right. Probably Werner on the left. Solanke up front. I think the criminal part will be if he doesn't bring Mikey Moore on at some point. I think Sunday is a game where if he doesn't start, he has to come on and be given enough time to show what he can do. Because, like Mike said, like everybody's saying, there's no point bringing him on for 5 minutes.
No.
He's got to be given 20, 25 minutes. The only thing I will say is that if he starts, I think they'll target him. I really do. I think they'll go in on him hard. Because of, everybody's talking about him now after that game last night. So to me, you bring him back down to earth a little bit, but you bring him on and give him a good amount of minutes, 20, 25 minutes, something like that, and just say, get out there and rip it up. And if he rips it up, he starts the next match, because there's no excuse not to start him then.
Mark, just a harmless potato. Let's come up with a decent team here. My only question would be, Kulu's played so well in midfield, but it would grant you your wish of not putting Werner in the side.
Oh, yeah. And it's like I said, I'd sooner you played than Werner.
The thing is, though, with that team, why move Johnson off the right when he's doing so well? I mean, I'm presuming you're putting Johnson on the right rather than Kulu on the left. I don't know, but...
Well, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. That's why I wouldn't play Kulu on the wing anyway. I wouldn't play Kulu on the wing because
I like the
so well. There's such a synergy between him and Maddison. When Maddison just drops that little bit deeper, and Bentancur's really got this six in his. Bentancur's been quite constrained and mature because, like, normally I like the look of Bentancur when he's driving the team forward, but now his role has been. It's been sort of changed. It's not that he won't find an opportunity to get forward, but no, I think Bentancur, and especially as Brighton do play a high line as well.
Yeah, I want to see Kulu in the middle now, because he's said it in an interview that is his preferred position. I mean, is he all right on the wing? Yeah, he's not bad. Is he predictable? Yes, he is. You stick him in the middle, and he's got the hold-up play. He's skillful. I mean, to me, if it's not broken, you don't fix it. So, unfortunately, I can see Werner starting. Unfortunately.
Soren, shouldn't we be thinking of when we're playing these games, we pick a starting 11, but we should be thinking 16, because when it comes to the second half, you can see like Spence coming on because you're not playing in Europe. You could see Moore coming on. You could see Lancashire coming on. I mean, it's depending on who comes on, how well the game's going, but we tend to think of 11 as if the 11's set in stone when, like, I don't think Ange thinks that way at all.
I think it's like you say, it's not a first. I mean, we obviously have got a first 11. It does drop off a little bit with the subs that we're bringing on at the moment, but yeah, to me, we play that confidence. We've looked good with Kulu in the middle, with Johnson on the right, with Maddison in the middle, Bentancur sat slightly behind him. Obviously, we've had Sonny, but Werner started the last match. No, he didn't start the last match, did he? Sorry.
Yeah, he did. He started Man United, I think.
Did he?
Yeah. He was on the left in the Man United game.
Yeah. So look, I mean, to me, you go with that same 11. If Werner's having a nightmare after 10 minutes, you bring him off. This is where Ange has to earn his money. But I do just think that Werner offers that little bit more defensive stability with the knowledge he's got. And Brennan Johnson on the right and then Kulu just inside him also helps Porro with his defence, because let's face it, Kulu just doesn't stop. His back is forward. His back is forward. What he's running on, I'll never know. So I just think it's going to be a game where pace is going to be important. Keeping the ball is going to be important. And maybe it's just a little bit too soon for Mikey Moore. A couple more games behind him, and I don't think there'd have been any hesitation. To me, you just start with the wiser heads.
Right, I'm going to bring up one more stat, which we'll finish on the stat if I can find it. Hang on. This might surprise some of you. Spurs have the same +7 goal difference, average difference as Arsenal. Played 6, scored 12, conceded 5. Defending better as a team?
Look, we said it last year, or I said it, and I got laughed at. When Richie played for us and he did that closing down and we defended as a team, we played better. Solanke's doing that now. He's close. I mean, his work rate is phenomenal. And as a team, we are closing down a lot better. And if you look, quite a few of our goals have come from breaking it down, getting the ball back and scoring. And that's our strength. And that's the way Ange keeps telling us he wants to play. And at the moment, that work effort, whatever, as a team is what's winning us games. And it's what's making us look better. We are playing as a team. And if you defend as a team, you will play far better.
Mark, surprised we have the same stats as Arsenal?
I am very surprised, seeing as the first few games, it was just that one ball down the side that I keep moaning about. As long as the full backs don't invert all the time, because I don't like that. Stop that nonsense. Cut that out immediately and play like we did against Brentford. I don't care about that. I don't care if we have 70% of the ball or, 70, 60% of the ball. It's what's in the top left-hand corner that's the most important thing. We got more goals than them.
Yeah.
I mean, that inverted stuff has got to stop. Honestly, I detest it.
I think
it crowds Madison out.
Yeah, I mean, there are times it does work, but you've got to. This is where Ange does need to adapt. That we look at each individual team and we adapt. I mean, you don't have to change your tactics massively, but rather than having them both invert, have one invert and let the other one stay. Have one stay back now and again. These are the things that you don't necessarily have to change your philosophy of the game. You just tweak little things. And this is what he seems to be starting to do.
That's what I noticed against Brentford.
Yeah.
Because many times Brentford had the ball and Porro and Udogie, they were all in the line, the four. It wasn't just two of them. And the other two had disappeared up by Madison somewhere. There was four of them in a line. And I noticed that and I thought, aha. He's learning. He's tweaked it. And I thought that inverted stuff, we'd seen the last of it. But last night, it sneaked back in. I think maybe the players didn't listen to him.
Well, either that or maybe he adapted the game again. Maybe it's a case of, some games we will play, some games we won't play like that.
A little bit about Brighton. We've played them 39 times in our history. They have won 10. Drawn 8, and Spurs have won 21. We have a very good record. Not last year. We got beat 4-2, obviously.
Yeah.
And things like that. We do have a very good record there. I'm confident we're going to win. We'll get your predictions. I think we'll concede 1, as we've sort of on average concede 1 a game. I don't think we'll concede 2. And I'm going for a tight 2-1. I'm pretty sure that because both teams play a higher line, there'll be lots of people betting higher scores than that, though. Soren, prediction?
I think there's going to be more than a couple of goals scored. It wouldn't. I can see a 3-2.
Give me your predictions for Brighton in the chat, please.
I can see a 3-2 or 3-1. I can see a 4-3. Yeah, I don't know. I just know it will not be a 0-0. That's the only prediction I'm going to say. Spurs are going to win.
Graham's going to 3-1.
Yeah,
Paul
that's
G's
the
going for
kind of
3-1.
score that I think 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3. Some, I just think it's going to be an exciting game.
Well, it was 4-2 last year. Pete
Yeah.
Kangas
to them,
going
though.
4-0 Spurs.
Yeah, to them. I made my prediction on the Tottenham on tour phoning. I said 8-7 Tottenham.
Ben's going 3-2. I've heard quite a few in other podcasts fancy the 3-2 scoreline.
No, I said 8-7. I said 8-7.
That, can you imagine that sort of game, 8-7?
That'd be lovely.
7-all until the 94th minute,
Yeah,
and we go and
yeah.
win it in the 95th minute.
Although
No,
allegedly Brighton's best defender is
1,
injured, and so I went 9-7. I think.
Hmm.
Do you know that? I mean, I remember was it against Wigan? Was that 9-1?
9-1.
Yeah, I mean, that was that sort of.
Jermaine Defoe got 5.
Yeah, I think you get to that sort of score, and it kind of becomes boring. I think a 5-3, something like that would be brilliant.
Yeah,
it's.
And the team lineups, they'll just be either side of the halfway line.
Yeah.
There'll be all their players on their side of the halfway line and all our players on our side. And that's what it'll be.
Just all stood on the halfway line so they're not offside.
Yeah.
And on that positive note, I want to thank you all in the chat for joining in with us. Like I say, if you can subscribe, give us a thumbs up.
Just one final thing.
Go on.
Big up Ben, by the way. Ben's girlfriend is down. And so they're bound to win because every time she visits Ben, we always win.
Big up Ben then, right? So
yes.
In that case, then we need Ben to get down on one knee, propose, and get a living down that end all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Come on, Ben, sort it out.
I'll see you two guys in the back room. Once again, I want to thank all my guests. They know who they are. I want to thank everyone in the chat. You've been fantastic for us. And I should play us out with this.